Good morning to everybody. Very happy to be with you this morning, the third day of the virtual R&I days. I'm very pleased to be surrounded by distinguished speakers that they have a lot of experience on the subject matter that we are going to discuss with you today, which is the lump sum projects and whether this is going to be a solution for simplification. Actually, what we would like to discuss with all of you today is the experience that we have gained through the implementation of the Horizon 2020 pilots on lump sum project financing. Just to have a short introduction before I introduce to you the speakers, we have been criticized under the framework programs, Horizon 2020 and even before, that the way that reimburse the activities of the researchers is very difficult, it is very administrative, it is not very clear, and it creates a lot of error, in particular when we go to the audits and we discover that the beneficiaries, they don't have a clarity on the rules, and while they implement the projects very well and deliver the activities, they are not able at the end to make a reporting of the cost in the appropriate way, and then at the end we have to reduce their funding. Also, for the administrative reasons and for the reporting that the Commission has to do every year to the Parliament, it is very clear that among the different Commission programs, the Program of Research and Innovation is the one with the highest error rate. And this is very important because as an institution, we have to make sure that the way that we spend the public money is the appropriate one and according to the rules. Therefore, the European Court of Auditors asks us to consider new ways to simplify the cost funding, new ways to deliver the results of our projects, and in particular to see whether there are the possibilities, even in the research area, where we all know that the outcome of the research is not always there, that during doing research, it's possible that you deliver your activities, but the final outcome is not there because it is very risky. The Court of Auditors asks us to see whether there are ways that will focus more on the deliverable of activities and abandon the standard way of reporting the cost, rather than focusing too much in the reporting of cost with the problems that we have nowadays, that we have a very higher rate. So together with my colleagues in DG Research and Innovation, we try to innovate, and we try to come with a new solution of financing projects, which is the lump sum project. So in other words, what we try to do in this lump sum project is that from the very beginning, the applicants, they should come with the concrete ideas of what they want to do, what are the activities that they would like to do, and how much it will cost. And through the evaluation of the proposal, we have at the end to decide, that this is the project, these are the activities, and we accept the cost. And after that, we will not ask anymore the beneficiaries to report on the cost that they encountered. So the projects will be paid on the basis of the concrete activities and deliverables, and not on the basis of reporting or recurrent costs. So this is a new way which we don't know yet in its full extent whether it will work correctly and appropriately or not, but we have huge hopes that through this lump sum project funding, it will be possible to reduce the burden, to reduce the risks of reporting on the costs, and to go step by step to a situation where the researcher will be much more focused on delivering the activities, and rather than focusing on the administration and on the reporting of the costs. Therefore, we have launched 11 pilots in the current program. Different phases, there are different phases under which these 11 pilots are currently, and I'm very happy to have with us today Raymond Polcher, who is a Senior Research and Innovation Manager at Intrasoft International. He's the coordinator of the Market 4 project, which is one of the projects that is using this new way of reimbursing cost. Then Vicent de Clarfert, colleague from is the head of administration and finance of the Shift to Rail joint undertaking. And Vicent and his colleagues, they were the first ones that they said to us, yes, we would like to try this new way of financing projects, and they were very happy to participate to this pilot. Andres Martinez is the coordinator of the Spanish Office of Science and Technology and national contact point for legal and financial issues. With Andres, we had a very, I would like, in-depth discussions on this Hello, can you hear me again? I lost the connection. Εντάξει, δεν μπορώ. Πες στον Peter να είναι στα μπάνια to take over.
Okay. Yes,
Hello, can you hear me now?
everybody hears you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I lost connection. So I repeat again, we have Nicola Vaibik, the Chief Scientific Officer of the European Vaccine Initiative. She's the manager of a Sigetech Vax project, and she also has the experience of the implementation of one of the first pilots projects, calls that we have on the lump sum project. So that's all from my side. And I would like now to switch to the questions to our participants. I would like also to announce before that there are some questions for the audience, for those that they are participating our sessions. And I can see from my computer that we have almost 200 people attending this discussion today. So for those 200 people, I suggest that we start with the first question in the poll, which is, have you been involved in a lump sum project funding in the framework program? If you can reply to this question. So, Nicola, my first question is for you. Compared to other proposals you may have submitted under Horizon 2020, what kind of differences did you recognize in the proposal writing? I'm talking about the lump sum pilot. What would be your advice to someone applying to a call for proposal using lump sum funding? Unmute your microphone, please.
I can't see it.
Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I only saw the poll. So yeah, thank you very much for the invitation and also for giving us the opportunity to share our experience here today. So I think first I would like to just briefly introduce the Sigetech Vax project because it's a small project. We are only 5 partners, and what we would like to do is develop a vaccine to protect against diarrheal diseases. And our partner in Austria is Evolicure Biotechnologies, who invented this technology. Just to put it a bit into perspective, we would like to manufacture our vaccine, but also test it in human clinical trials in Europe, but also in Bangladesh. So what did we do during the proposal writing, what we think is different? So compared to other proposals submitted under Horizon 2020, for the proposal submitted under this lump sum pilot, we noticed some differences when designing and planning the project. And overall, I would say that we more carefully planned the project in terms of work package activities, timelines, and budget, because there's also, I guess, more information or more details that need to be submitted during the proposal preparation stage. So for example, when designing the work packages, we had to be a bit more careful in planning. So we had to really look into the differences between the different reporting periods, the different activities, and what could be achieved under which period. So for example, our clinical trial activities, we had to split them over different stages. We had to split them, for example, by country activities over the different reporting periods. And also we had to split the coordination and management, communication and dissemination work package into 3 different work packages to be able to receive the funding after each reporting period. And as indicated, so the European Commission is only paying the share of the lump sum corresponding to the work packages whose activities have been completed. by the end of a reporting period. And that means that all partners involved in the work package will have to complete their activities for the Commission to consider a work package as completed. So you're highly relying on your partners that everyone is doing the work that everyone is supposed to do, that everyone is delivering. And I think we also had some discussion here on how much liability the other partners wanted to take over if a work package, for example, is not completed. And so we had to design the work packages a bit differently than we would have done in a normal Horizon 2020 project. As I mentioned, so this GIG-ETIC-WAX consortium is small with 5 partners only. So we don't foresee any problems. And so far the project is running really smoothly. But still for some of the work packages, the work is mainly allocated to one of the partners rather than to everyone on a kind of similar share. And also upon submission, I think we also provided a more detailed budget per work package, and we more carefully planned the budget than we maybe would have done it before, because before you just more or less make sure that the overall budget is fine, but here you really need to tie it down to the different activities and make sure that your budget is properly planned. And I think this really helps, and also in the day-to-day management. So as an advice to someone who's considering to apply for a call, using this lump sum funding, I think as always, you need to select your partners carefully, because as also for other projects, but even here, the partners who are committed to deliver are the ones that you would like to have in your project. So would need to plan and group the activities in the work package according to the proposed activities, but also considering the timelines for the reporting period, so that you can also be paid out once the work package is completed. You need to be ambitious, but also reasonable when preparing the project timelines. And you need to justify very well your budget, because this is also reviewed, or in our case was reviewed during the proposal review stage. So I think that's a short summary of what we have encountered and planned.
Thank you very much, Nicola. If I try a little bit to put it in a market word, so in a way you need to have a much better business plan, if I may say. So what you want to deliver as activities, by when, and how much is going to cost, because this is the best way that you get your funding. So it needs much better analysis and thinking before the submission of the proposal. Yes, thank you very much. Raimund, I think it's a similar question to you. You had the experience of submitting other proposals. But my question to you is, given your experience in the project of Market 4, do you think that there is a different approach on how the consortium is structured and how the partners are selected?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anna, for speaking about the lump sum model. First of all, our experience is a very good one. So we really appreciate the model, because it really reduced bureaucratic procedures within the project, and it eases really the process for the coordinator in front of the review meeting. If we come to the partner selection, I would say that what is most important is still the expertise of the partners, their professional approach to deliver, how we select our partners. But if it comes to the size of the partners, and I think Nicola mentioned that as well. So for example, if you have a work package like dissemination and exploitation, which is normally starting in the beginning of the project and then goes until the end. Here I would also suggest, like Nicola said, to divide it in 3 different packages, in order to have also smaller partners who do not have such a strong financial breeze, that they can handle these work packages. But overall, the selection of partners for us is mainly driven by their professionalism to deliver and their expertise, and how well our use cases are. In Market 4.0, we are now, as a consortium, we are lump sum, but also we have sub-grantees. So we are making own calls for project partners, that extend our consortium. So we have a lump sum model within a lump sum model. And we as Intrasoft, we were lucky to coordinate already different projects in Horizon 2020, but also in FP7 in FIWARE. So we had already the experience to coordinate lump sum projects within our project, where the core consortium was not under lump sum, but the sub-grantees did run a lump sum project. And so we developed this experience, and we learned as a coordinator that it's important to have the work package leaders strongly introduced into the model, that they have much more responsibility to coordinate their work package, as every work package is for us, when you write the consortium, when you write the proposal, is like a product. So you have more to think not in small bits and pieces in deliverables, but you have to say, what can I write to the evaluators and the reviewers in order to have a meaningful work package completed like a product, yeah, which is a bit closer to a call for tender, yeah, but it is not a call for tender, but we should think about how can we make the life of the reviewers a bit easier to finish and to approve a work package. And therefore, there is, of course, a big more responsibility for the work package leaders to run it like a product development. Yeah, and that is something I would really advise. But overall, the experience is a very good one, because you're handling like a budget, yeah, that should end in a product. So it educates us also in developing a meaningful exploitation path and to have more business perspective within a work package leadership. Yeah. So I would finish here in order to give my colleagues also a chance to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raymond. I really appreciate what you said also in relation to following more closely the work packages and the deliverables, and the linking much closer to the exploitation, which is actually one of the most important aspects that we have to look in the next framework program as well. So how we make sure that the results of our research are exploitable. Before I go to Vincent, I would like just to inform you that the poll on the first question, I think now it's finished, and the result shows that, of course, only 28% of the participants, they are familiar or they have experience with a lump sum pilot, which is, in my view, which is not too bad, in the sense that we have only 11 pilots, and which have been recently started some of those. So nevertheless, 72% of the participants, they don't know, and they have no experience. And if I compare that with the questions that I have in the chat box, there are a lot of questions, and actually the most voted question is whether there will be trainings from the Commission on the details of this approach. And of course, we plan to organize, first of all, a workshop and explaining how the lump sum pilot is organized, following up by trainings. But maybe, Peter, you know more about our schedule. Peter Hartwig is following the discussion with us. Peter is the brain behind this lump sum pilot. Hi, Peter. I don't know whether you would like to give some more concrete replies on our planning for trainings and workshops on the lump sum pilot.
Yes, thank you very much for calling me in. I hope you can hear me.
Very well, Peter.
Good. So indeed, what we did in all these pilots is to have specific information sessions for the pilots. And then we had also, when the projects for funding were selected, we had very intensive interaction with the coordinators to explain them how it would work. Of course, when we now extend the use of lump sum funding, which is not decided, by the way, so I should rather say if we extend the use of lump sum funding, we will for sure invest systematically in training. We will interact with the national contact points. We will organize webinars, training sessions, and so on. Absolutely. But again, nothing is decided. Huh?
Later that we decide today, in the context of this workshop that we are going to engage more in an outreach event to explaining the use of lump sum pilot, and maybe accompanied by those beneficiaries that they have the experience, and they can share and outreach their experience that they had already had. Nicola and Raymond, I would like to take the opportunity also and to ask you what I see in the chat box as a question, because you are the first one that you have the experience. The question is, do you really think that shifting so much workload to the application stage is a good idea? In the light of low success rates, I think this is rather unattractive for applicants. So my question to you is, when you were applicants participating to this lump sum pilot call, was it unattractive or was it attractive? Just to know your views.
Yeah, you know, the decision to join a specific call and to apply is more a strategic decision. Yeah, sometimes you don't know in advance, yeah, how many people will apply. Yeah, and for us, we go for it if we have an internal decision. Yeah, and if we have a good, meaningful idea, we go for it. Yeah, and I would not say that a lump sum model changes the application rules or application number of people. Yeah, it is sometimes you have oversubscribed topics, yeah, and sometimes you don't have. So I would say that this, in our call we had a lot of applicants in the NMBP, yeah, but we did know that in advance that there will be a lot of proposals, so we had to be even smarter. But the lump sum itself is not a determinator of the number of applicants. Yeah.
Thank you, Nicola.
Yes, so for us it was also a strategic decision because the call fitted quite well of what we wanted to achieve. And I would not say that it is much more work to prepare the lump sum application. I think you plan a bit more carefully and you think a bit differently maybe while preparing, but I think the overall work you also need to put in. And if you finally split the work in 2 separate work packages, or you have some small adjustment, I think it does not really change the overall concept of the proposal, putting the partners together. So I would say I think it is not much more work.
Thank you very much, Nicola. I take the opportunity also to ask Vincent, for example. They have the Shift to Rail call. Did you see a difference on the application rate because it was a lump sum call?
Thank you, Anna. So before talking about the proposal, I would just come back to what Raymond mentioned, because I think it's an extremely important element we will further develop when we talk about the implementation phase. But I would say that we receive positive feedback about the decrease of administrative burden, and it is inherent to the proposal phase as well. So let's focus on the attention on administrative aspects instead of research and innovation. So the lump sum project demonstrated for us so far removing a big part of this administrative burden. And also, following the feedback of our industry members, the projects are actually considered becoming easily integrated into the company, because there are no ad hoc accounting and management that should be established. And this is important since the very beginning and since the proposal phase, actually. So we know that the rationale behind lump sum was to introduce simplification for the beneficiaries, for the funding authorities, granting authorities, and it is perfectly fitting well for Shift to Rail, as you know, which is a mechanism designed to set incentives and to foster cooperation in an integrated program. So with respect to the proposal aspect itself, I would say that we actually did not identify particular improvements in the quality of the proposal as such. Also because we consider that we have received a proposal with good quality already in the past. But what we have observed is that it has pushed the beneficiaries or members to pay particular attention in the submission of proposal with regard to the cost effectiveness relation and delivery-oriented approach. And this is also what Nicola mentioned earlier, the design of the work package and a particular focus ex ante on the project budget. This is really the key, and I would totally agree. At least we are meeting in these conclusions together. So I would say that there are two things, not really the quality improvement, but all participants with lump sum project requires to establish a strong cooperation, including a trust-based approach among them since the very beginning in the preparatory phase of the proposal, and a most effective budgetary planning, that is for sure. Capacity is required to define the amount needed to fund the project activity. So for us, there are no doubts, although in a so short term and specifically in the context of an integrated program like Shift to Rail, we believe that the lump sum approach introduced focus on quality, but cooperation and simplification and more effective budget planning.
And based on your experience that you had with the evaluation, Vincent, and the selection of experts, were you happy? Did you find that the experts had more difficulties to evaluate this type of proposals, or the proposals submitted under the context of the lump sum?
From a technical point of view, no, but we had to introduce additional layer of verification about the costs and the submission of costs. So we have joined with us in the proposal the submission of financial experts dedicated to the verification, because according to the lump sum methodology, we need to consult the costs declared and submit in the proposal in accordance with the statistical data. So this requires actually additional level of control for the granting authorities ex ante. For the proposal itself, for the consortium members, as we said, as what Nicola was mentioning, it's most effective budget planning, and the granting authority has to control and pay more attention ex ante to this budgetary planning. So that's what has changed mainly in the past, which is a bit, well, it's not more difficult. It's just a different way of evaluating proposal. There is an additional level of control, of verification on the consistency of the budgets and the work package allocation.
Thank you very much. And I would like to inform you now that we have almost reached 250 participants, which means that this session attracts a lot of attention. Andres, 2 questions for you. The one that I asked the previous speakers as well. So did you, as an NCP, receive feedback from potential applicants that they were discouraged on applying to the lump sum calls? And my second question, do you feel that the applicants are sufficiently informed about the specificities of the lump sum funding, or have you experienced an increase of a number of queries from applicants?
Good morning, Anna. Well, thank you for inviting me. So yes, we had lengthy discussions around the lump sums, and today I would like to give my personal opinion. So no official position here, so I can say whatever I want. And I will give some recommendations as well, if I may. So first, on the number of queries, we got the questions. We got a lot of questions in 2018, when the first 2-3 calls were launched, the NMBP, Health, and Shift to Rail. And actually, we did have some technical problems at the last minute. And yes, I want to say thank Peter Harwitz is always behind the scenes, and Maria Alfayate, because they help us a lot to solve these problems. So I think these technical problems are now okay. We didn't get any more question or query about it. So I think the calls are going well. But maybe as a first recommendation, I would say that the applicants, I've talked to almost all the Spanish participants in these lump sums, told me that you may think, if this model is to be generalized, you may think about a specific module, specific module. I would say module is the word for the proposal for this lump sum, to separate from the general model, which not always fit the structure of these proposals. For example, the limit of pages is maybe not enough, and some other. So maybe think about this specific model. And since I have not many questions around the lump sum, so there are not many projects running. That's a fact as well. But most probably, if I don't get questions, that means that things are going well. And on the second questions, if they are sufficiently informed. Well, here I would say that I think more guidance is needed on certain concepts, because I got the questions for many questions around these concepts. So the first one, I think applicants did not really know the difference between results and deliverables. So there's some more guidance or more clarity to be given, I think, in this aspect. So in the outreach events you may organize, I think this is one point you may touch. Partial approval is another point, not very clear for participants, and of course, due to this interdependence and only getting paid when the work programs are finished, this concept is very important. And finally, maybe the most important one is what exactly means appropriate and sufficient evidence of the proper technical implementation. This is not clear, so we end up with partners doing exactly the same as they do for a regular project, meaning keeping timesheets, keeping personal cost calculation, everything, because they say, well, in case we have one of these assessment of simplified cost forms, or maybe an audit from the OLAF or from the European Court of Auditors, we're going to keep everything. So I think it's important to give them a clearer view, maybe with practical examples on what does appropriate and sufficient evidence of the proper technical implementation means. Summing up, recommendation second one, a more detailed lump sum annotated model grant agreement, and as soon as possible the indicative audit program as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Andres. Based on your recommendation, I was just thinking exactly that, the annotated model grant agreement. So I knew that we will go there. And at the end, this is something that creates a lot of criticism, but the beneficiaries, they like very much to have annotations around obligations, because then it makes very clear. Before I go ahead with the second round of questions, I see we have plenty of questions, very interesting questions coming from the audience, and I would like to take some of those. Raimund, you said you highlighted the importance of select well the partners, and there is one question coming from the audience that is it conducive to broadening participation or to promoting close clubs of partners who have worked together and therefore already have higher level of trust and deliver work package project because they know each other, basically?
Yeah, you know, it's quite dangerous. I would never, in a new project, always build the same consortium and the same group of people. Yeah, there is of course some core partnerships that you have. Yeah, but I would always have a fresh mix of established partners, good partners, and some new partners. That also helps to scale the model. You know, to scale the model that other people learn how to run such a lump sum project. Yeah, and therefore I would say always to build the same kind of consortia working with the same partners is a bit dangerous. It's also not what I think what the European Commission wants to see. Yeah, but what we take care for is of course to see that we have experienced partners for work package leadership, yeah, that are able to run this work package really like a product, yeah, and to complete it. And what is maybe also important is to think about. I just have to finish the poll. Is that you? I lost my thought. That you establish a quality procedure, yeah, that we did not have before. We put on the work package leader another task, which is a very established quality procedure for the work package leadership, and the partner that you select should be able to do it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There is another question.
Did it answer your question?
Yes, of course. And I hope that the participants who asked the questions, there are actually 16 people voting for this question. They are happy with your reply. So there is another question that I find very interesting, and maybe I will like to ask Vincent. since he's following from the public administration side, the deliverables, the question here is, when is a work package done? When the deliverables are approved or when the objectives and milestones have been reached? Sometimes they can be a bit different. It's a tricky question, and I don't know whether Peter at one stage would like to intervene, but Vincent, first from your side, do you think you can reply to this question?
If Peter can answer, yeah, because I'm more in the financial part, but this is definitively when so all the tasks are performed for a specific definition of a work package.
Peter.
Yes, I can intervene. So our concept was always to say that we do not pay against results, because this makes no sense in science and innovation, because there is a risk that you don't achieve what you have promised. We do not pay against deliverables. What we pay against is the fulfillment of activities. And so it is in the hand of the applicants to define for each work package what is the set of activities that you do in this work package. And then you, as an applicant, define against what activities you want to be paid. It is not predefined or prescribed by the funder, by the commission. So it's really, so the art, so to say, in all this lies in reasonable and fulfillable definition of the activities that form a work package, I would say.
If I may, Peter, I would like to follow up with another question, which is very close to what exactly you said, saying that research is always risky. What happens when deliverables are not reached? Does lump sum fit, therefore, for RIAs, so research and innovation action, or maybe better for innovation actions?
So we think that it fits for both types, again, because we don't pay against deliverables, we don't pay against results, we pay against the fulfillment of activities. So if, for instance, you are in the health field and your activity is to run a clinical study, we will not pay against the success of the clinical study. We will pay against the activities, meaning you have promised that you do so much testing with so many patients. What the outcome of this is has no meaning on the payment. That is just to give an example how it works. It's payment against activities. So we think, and also the pilots that we have started show that we think there is a chance to apply it in both types of projects. We have pilots in any sort of project type launched in the last year.
Thank you very much, Peter. In the meantime, we have received the results of the second poll. The question was that, do you think lump sum project funding will make R&I framework program more accessible for applicants? And the replies are really split. 54% says no, 46% says yes. So we are in between. Let's see whether at the end of this session we are more in 50-50 or even better in yes. But in any case, we still pilot it. And based on the experience and the lessons learned of the pilot, we will see whether in the Horizon Europe program we are going to intensify this pilot or not. And as a mainstream implementation, but not across the program. So the rules clearly say that the calls, they will be implemented, they will be launched in the different type of projects and the different costing model as already today. The one does not exclude the other. And as also we'll try to always to do, by selecting the pilots, we try to select those pilots where lump sum project type, it makes sense. I mean, any type of project is not going to implement it through lump sums, but our hope is that through the pilot, we identify more areas where lump sum project funding could be implemented in order to simplify the life of the beneficiaries and to let them focus more on the activities rather on administrative burden. I would like then to go to the second round of questions to the panelists, and I start with Raymond From your experience, we are going now to the project management and reporting area. From your experience, to what extent has the management administration become easier due to the abolition of the actual cost reporting in lump sum projects in comparison to standard Horizon 2020 projects?
Okay. Yeah, you know, the financial reporting is for the coordinator always a big kind of blocker. Yeah, whenever we have in former projects, yeah, we had a lot of administrational load on the coordinator to collect all the financial statements. We wanted to have the process being smooth before. And so we went with a partner, each of them, through all the financial documents and checked it and approved it in order to get the payment process being fast. Now with the lump sum model, it's much easier. It's much easier. And if I put everything together, yeah, the reduction of bureaucracy and the additional things you have to take into account, yeah, the picture is definitely on the positive side, yeah, especially for the coordinator, because we have, of course, our own share in the financial reporting, but as a coordinator, you have to take care that the process is smooth, that not a single partner is blocking the financial reporting of the other ones and stops the whole process. Therefore, the new model, lump sum model, is much better. Also, when you have a work package, and if we think now, for example, about COVID, yeah, in another project in Horizon 2020, you would have to make a contract amendment in order to have, if you have a big shift between other costs and efforts. In a lump sum project, you can easily switch efforts to other costs and vice versa. Yeah, so you have within the work package, you have much more flexibility to coordinate like you run a business, yeah, where you have much more flexibility to allocate costs meaningful. What you have to take into account, what we still do is, of course, we do not do anymore. We don't ask the partners for their effort consumption every 6 months and so on. But what we do is, are you still within budget? This is important. Is everything still okay? Are you running out of money in travel, or are you running out of money within efforts? This we have to do in order to reduce risk within the consortium. So we are checking, but we don't do it with a lot of administrative burden. We just check individually with the partners, are you still okay? Especially for small medium enterprises, yeah, or startups. When they write their proposal, sometimes their estimates are maybe not proper. So we have the flexibility to check with them what is consumed, and we can run this work package meaningful within our consortium. Yeah, and we check in advance in order to see if something is running out of balance. Yeah, that you should keep. For the what I said before already, what is important, that you have a very good quality procedure within the project, and that the coordinator and the other partners support the work package leader. This means you have to have a quality procedure of all the deliverables, and because the deliverables together and the task description, they build a completed work package. So you have to go through it not only with a view on the individual task, but as Peter said before, you have to have a picture on, is this work package complete? Yeah, did you really deliver what you promised to deliver? Yeah, and not only having an individual view on deliverables. So overall, the lump sum model is a very good model because it reduces the complexity in reporting. It is much more flexible to have small adjustments within the other costs and efforts. it helps to delegate also a bit of responsibility from the coordinator to the work package leaders and build a kind of advisory board within the consortium, yeah, where you shift a bit responsibilities also to work package leaders, which is sometimes very good because you build a very strong leadership within the consortium itself, and all these positive aspects, they overcompensate for sure the additional efforts you have to take into building individual small budgets per partner and per task in the proposal. But at the end, everything is very clear. You just invoice a specific amount and you don't have to go into the efforts and control everything if you sum up to exactly the what you put into the proposal. So let me finish here at this point, that we might go to some additional questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Raymond. And in the meantime, there are many questions, many interesting questions that oblige me to take them on board. I see one, and I'm wondering whether Peter would like also to intervene. One question says that the Article 22 of the MGA, the Model Grant Agreement for lump sum, says that the beneficiaries do not need to keep record about the cost actually incurred for implementing the action. What about records on efforts? Peter, I don't know whether you are listening us.
Yes, I do. I hope you can hear me again.
Please, please.
Yes, indeed. There is no need to provide any financial documents in case of checks and controls. This is a natural consequence of the lump sum project funding. In terms of the proof of what you have actually done, it is in principle the same as in the cost reimbursement projects, because we should not forget that also in the cost reimbursement projects, we don't just pay against bills. We pay in the first instance also in the cost reimbursement projects against the work that you have done. And then there comes the second part of the check, which is checking of the costs. This second part is not existing in the lump sum projects. The first part is more or less the same as in the cost reimbursement projects. So, and in terms of proof of what you have actually done, you should simply follow your own established practices. So we expect that you, in your work, you have to fill in and complete lab books. You have to have documentation of what you are actually doing. There will be draft publications or published publications. There will be exchanges of messages. There will be protocols of experiments. I mean, I cannot be exhaustive here. It depends on the scientific field. But this is the kind of stuff that, in the case of a technical review, the experts, who will be then also peers in a certain sense, in the same way as in the proposal evaluation, will have to see. So you have to be able to show quite normally on what you have actually done for the project. But again, this is not much different from a cost reimbursement project, because also in cost reimbursement projects, we have technical reviews, we have midterm reviews, we have the possibility to send technical experts on site. So there is no big difference. It's just that the other part, the financial part, disappears for the lump sums.
Thank you very much, Peter. So I suggest we go to the next question to Vincent. Vincent, now you have experience from implementing the lump sum pilot projects. From the perspective of the Shift2Rail services, what are your first impressions on the reporting and payment? Were the project officers able to focus more on the technical and scientific content of the projects?
Yes, Anna. So as we said previously, this model shifts from focus on financial management and to scientific and technical values of the project. So at Shift2Rail, we already have in place control gate system to assess on a yearly basis project progress. from a content point of view. However, this work is becoming even more critical in the lump sum pilots. So this new approach is it's the learning curve, but we notice that the beneficiaries start benefiting from this simplified administration and focus on timely delivery because of the work package completion process. So this is already reflected in our first lump sum reporting and payments, which are occurring since March 2020. We have observed a significant change in the way the consortium handle it, and qualitative improvement as well of the deliverables task. And the lump sum is only provided once the work package is completed. We said that already. And this pushed the consortium on a timely delivery of the task. So that was the question that was asked before. Whatever is included in the work package has to be fulfilled. And then I will join Raymond about the principle of corresponsibility. This is also what we have observed. We have this feeling of a more corresponsibility among the consortium partners, and the quality increase of the deliverables. If it is not approved, it will mean no payments. So conclusions, lump sum provides for us and for the GU an additional trigger for quality increase. Considerable simplifications with regard to the absence of financial reporting. And from our perspective and from the feedback that we are currently receiving from our members, we have this unique setup for building on trust and enhanced collaboration to deliver union policies and system transformation. So it's not a project ending in itself, but it really demonstrates this. From the learning, lesson learned, yes, there are some, as also, again, what Raymond said, is that there are some flexibilities amongst the work package and the consortium and the cost price. However, if it appears that a work package is not really aligned with the delivery of the tasks and the reporting periods, so it could generate an increase of number of work packages that we are happy actually to accept in order to ensure that the members are benefiting from these flexibilities. There were some questions, and at the beginning when we launched the first pilot project in 2018, the main question was always, what about the work packages? Are you about to pay us? So it's always the same question. So it's work package complete. And we can see now, because it's already the third call that we launch in with work package, that our members are getting used to it and are building the proposal in such a way that that this corresponsibilities, this collaboration improves significantly the quality of the technical result achieved. So that would be our experience with the first reporting periods for this year.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Before I go to Nicola for the next question, I would like to reply to another very interesting question that I saw in the chat box. The question was that the model should enable the natural flow of an RNI project rather than structuring your RNI project to fit a model, as with a lump sum model, to try to ensure adequate cash flow. Given COVID-19 situation, in creating importance of cash flow for entities, is it now fit for purpose? So the reply from our side is that we in any case give a generous pre-financing in the same way as for the cost reimbursement project. So the cash flow, it is largely assured in any case. The risk of not being paid the parts of the work in interim payments is similar to the cost-based project. So in any case, we never pay against bills. We pay against the technical achievements of the project. So it is like any normal project. In our view, the model of lump sum funding, it fits perfectly well also in situations as we have now. And I would like to add that possibly under this current situation, yes, you have to pay attention that when you prepare the proposal, you have your cost modeling, you do your plans, your analysis, what exactly you would like to deliver. But during the implementation, you can really focus on the deliverable, which may facilitate to have the deliverable quicker on time. So, Nicola, my question to you is, do you consider that the lump sum funding is easing and facilitating the internal management of the project and of the consortium? And I see some questions on this respect also in the chat box.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. So just to let you know, so we have experience managing projects under Horizon 2020, but also back up to FP6. So we can compare it to the different other projects, and we would say it's yes and no. And some of the aspects were already discussed by some of the other panelists. So the administrative burden, of course, is reduced because of the financial reporting that is not as required. But on the other hand, I think all the organizations still have their processes in-house that they're kind of still following, independent if it's a lump sum pilot or lump sum project or not. So we had encountered in the beginning some, I would say, some difficulties or some uncertainties with the Commission, because during the grant negotiation phase, there was this financial review, as already mentioned before. And so our budget had some budget cuts. And unfortunately, we're not able to renegotiate any of the budget cuts that were implemented to the project. And so we had to live with what was given. And of course, we are now trying to implement our project as best as we can with those budget cuts. And now we're in a situation which was kind of a bit of follow-up to the question in the poll that was just mentioned. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, we are, of course, facing some situations where we have some delays in the project that are beyond our control. So we would like to do the clinical testing of a new vaccine candidates. We had some delays in the manufacturing. We had some delays in the start of the clinical trial. And we have to make sure that we ensure the cash flow of the partners, which might be less important for a big organization with a lot of financial volume. But with small SMEs, that was mentioned, I think it is more critical, so that we need to ensure that the cash flow is guaranteed. And we are now in the discussion with the European Commission on how to mitigate some of the risks to ensure that the project can run smoothly over the next couple of years with the uncertainties we have due to the pandemic. Also with regards to the reporting periods, the work packages that will be completed, the payments that will be done. And I think, so for all the other aspects, I think they were mentioned by the other panelists already.
Thank you very much, Nicola. We have only 4 minutes left, and the last question goes to Andres, which will complement the replies that we have received on the last polling question. In your opinion, to what extent does the abolition of cost reporting and auditing in lump sum projects simplify project management? So 44% of the participants say to a moderate extent, and 32% to a great extent. So in general, we expect that indeed the lump sum model will simplify the project management. My question to you, Andres, is that whether you have now the impression, after all the discussions, all the experience that you have accumulated through the lump sum pilot project funding, whether this approach will make the R&I framework program more attractive and accessible to new participants and smaller actors.
All right, so I have seen plenty of interesting questions there, but no time, fortunately. So no black and white answer to this one, neither. From a perspective, due to this interdependence, I'm sure the choice of partner will be more conservative. This is what I've seen and what I've been told. So smaller or new participants or maybe international partners will have more difficult to participate in this project. This is my perspective. In terms of cash flow tensions as well, that may discourage some smaller SMEs in particular, though there, please take care of these pre-financing levels in the lump sum. It's important as well. Then the rigidity of the implementation phase with probably more amendments would be a problem as well, not for newcomers, but for everyone. So maybe we could think about a fast track or a lighter amendment process for the lump sum. I don't know, something that would facilitate these changes. And all in all, what I would say is that, from my perspective, the lump sum is not a model adapted to all type of projects. So for sure, you could implement the lump sum or the pilot in Horizon Europe, extend the pilot in Horizon Europe, and extend it to mono-beneficiary projects. That would be a problem. And either collaborative projects when they are more predictable or more easy to sequentiate, to separate in work packages. But for others, lower TRLs, for example, or more uncertain projects, I think it's going to be difficult to apply.
very much, Andres, for this very honest reply, I would say. Before we close, I would like to pick up one point that you said about amendments. And indeed, I've seen a lot of questions about the amendments and the rigidity of amendments. Peter, the choker of our discussion, because he's following all this discussion internally. What is the issue with amendment? Are we really so strict about amendments?
No, I think it is relatively clear when an amendment is needed and when there is not an amendment needed. Indeed, so maybe to say it in the following sense, if the consortium wants to be sure that major changes in, for instance, the distribution of work, leading also to changes in the internal distribution of the funding, is backed up by the grant agreement, then they will ask for an amendment, because this table that is part of the grant agreement defines the financial liability among the partners if something goes wrong. So this means if you want to be on the very safe side and you have major changes, you have to go through an amendment. This is something that is not can be hardly avoided, and it's also in the interest of the beneficiaries. For other things like rearrangement of work within a work package, or internal rearrangement of who is doing what, there is no amendment needed. I mean, it's difficult now to go into the very details. In our opinion, the necessity of amendments in the lump sum projects is lower than in the cost reimbursement projects.
Thank you very much, Peter. I would like to conclude this very interesting discussion that reached 260 participants at the end of our session by thanking all of you for sharing your experience, for being open and honest on your assessment about a lump sum pilot. I would like to thank all the participants for being engaged in the discussion today with so many questions. As you know, we'll try to reply to all the questions through the chat. And I would like to take the opportunity to raise awareness to all of you, because I see it in the chat and I've forgotten actually to say it at the very beginning, that there are nice videos and slides in our Funding and Tender portal, where you can have more information about how the lump sum pilot is implemented, what are the practicalities, what you have to do. So I really encourage all of you that you have the interest to know more about lump sum pilot, to go to our Funding and Tender portal. I don't know whether we can put in the chat box, Peter, the link to the portal so that everybody can find these slides. And I would like to confirm from our side that we are going also to organize trainings in the period to come and workshops to share our experience on the lump sum implementation. Finally, I would like to ask you to go to the documents published under the Hub 6, Horizon Europe Implementation and Smart Specialization, where we have a new leaflet, presenting to everybody what are the novelties that we have introduced in Horizon Europe program implementation, including the lump sum. So there you can find very interesting links about all the novelties and all the tools that we have put in place. So thank you very much for this very interesting discussion. I don't know whether at the end the outcome of these pilots will be a success or not, or whether the lessons learned will say, yes, lump sum, but to a limited number of projects. What I do wish is that in the future framework program, we intensify our collective efforts in close collaboration with the applicants, beneficiaries, the public administration of the member states and ourselves, in order to simplify even further the implementation of the projects and to help our researchers and innovators to pay more attention to the results, to the quality of the results, to the dissemination and uptake of the results, rather than to administration and to reporting of costs. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the R&I days. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.